If you're looking to upgrade your built-in TV speakers, you might be considering an affordable soundbar, such as the Samsung HWS61B or the black variant HWS60B, which at the time of filming and in the UK can be found for £260, while in the US can be found for $300. Now indeed, at this price point, they do offer quite an interesting proposition, with a 5.0 channel configuration, 200 watts of total power output, and support for Dolby Atmos. So in this review, you can see if they're actually worth their price tag and to see how they compare with some of their key competitors. So to kick things off, I would like to talk about its design, and here it's available in a white or black finish, with the former actually pictured. You'll be also able to see the dimensions of the soundbar so you can weight up for yourself. In my case, I've got it on a cabinet in front of a 55-inch TV, and it doesn't obstruct any of the lower portion of my television viewing experience. Furthermore, you can even wall mount it if you so wish. Now, I've got no complaints whatsoever when it comes to the materials used. You've got a metal grille that stretches towards the front, side and at the rear, and you've got a matte finish towards the top of it. However, I did prefer the overall fabric material that Samsung used in its predecessor, the S61A and the S60A. But I do appreciate that it's somewhat subjective, so I'd be curious to know what you make of it down in the comment section below. Now for you to interact with the soundbar, there are a few physical buttons found at the top of it, which are certainly appreciated as it prevents any sort of mistouch operation over some of its rivals, which opt for haptic or touch sensitive buttons instead. Furthermore, you've also got a bundled remote, which is always appreciated, and you've also got some forward-facing LEDs, which give you a slight indication of what you're adjusting. They're not exactly intuitive, but still great to see included. Now another means of controlling the soundbar is via this Samsung SmartThings app, and here via the main interface you can quickly change between source. You've also got the ability to adjust the volume and also change the sound modes, where I would recommend the adaptive sound. Now you have also got an EQ where you've got bass and treble, although here you can see you've got advanced, although that is only enabled if you have got the standard sound mode enabled. Then you've also got the ability to toggle on and off space fit sound, active voice amplifier, voice enhancement and night mode. Then towards the top right hand side you've got the device settings where you can adjust the channel level, center and side. Then you've also got the audio sync, audio feedback and also the Bluetooth pairing mode. And then you've also got the Alexa settings, Spotify Connect settings and also some information which also allows you to perform a firmware update. Now for the app to actually function, the soundbar must support some sort of wireless connectivity, and indeed it does. First off, you've got Bluetooth, where the lowest quality SBC codec is supported only, so therefore you'll only want to use it sparingly, for example if you have friends or family who come around and just want to play back their favourite tunes, because you're going to get a degraded audio experience. Thankfully, however, you have got dual band Wi-Fi support. Both the 2.4 and 5 GHz frequencies are supported, which isn't the same that could be said about some rival alternatives, namely from Sonos. Here you have got built-in Amazon Alexa, Spotify Connect and Apple AirPlay 2. All of which are greatly appreciated, although it's quite surprising to say the least that you do not have Google Chromecast support. Indeed over here, Samsung do create a lot of Android smartphones, and it's surprising here that their soundbar does not support Google Chromecast, which would have been native to any sort of Android smartphone. Nonetheless, this might change at a later date, but at the time of filming and in the UK and with my sample, this is not the case. Now of course you do also have wired connectivity, and here it's actually quite disappointing, because you have got optical for more legacy devices and then an HDMI ARC standard only. Indeed over here the eARC standard has been omitted altogether by the manufacturer, which is actually quite surprising, because a lot of its modern competitors actually offer it. And in case you're wondering, it will feed through uncompressed Dolby Atmos data, therefore giving you a superior audio listening experience, of course if your television also supports it. On that note, it does not also have an HDMI input, which is actually quite worrying for certain individuals like myself, because normally I have to have my 4K Blu-ray player directly plugged into the soundbar for me to experience Dolby Atmos, and that's because my older Samsung television does not support it. Indeed, this means that it is actually quite limited in terms of the overall test that I could conduct with this soundbar, and also could be a limiting factor when it comes to making your own purchasing decision in comparison to other soundbars that do offer a HDMI input. Now on the flip side, Samsung do actually offer wireless Dolby Atmos support, but this is only present on some modern Samsung televisions, so therefore it's some food for thought in case you want to get around the limitations of its HDMI input. Now with all that said and done, let's get to an audio demo. First off, I'll be playing back a song by Priya J titled Like Me and flicking through the different sound modes. Then I'll be going on to a piece to camera where I'll be presenting the new Tesla Model 3 Highland on Totally EV. I'll be flicking on the voice enhancement on and off. Make sure you check out the annotations on your screen to understand how this soundbar is actually operating.
See you looking at me.
Tesla Model 3 has for a long time been the benchmark for fully electric vehicles, but now we have its updated model. It's also codenamed the Highland. Now at the time of filming, and in the UK, it's only available in two configurations. A rear-wheel drive model that costs £40,000 and an all-wheel drive long-range model that costs £50,000. Indeed, Tesla has omitted the performance model, at least at launch. Now, there is a lot of competition in this space right now. You've got the likes of the Polestar 2, the BMW i4, the Hyundai Ioniq 6, and even the BYD Seal. So I appreciate an audio demo over YouTube is never ideal, but it'll give you a bit of a taster as to how the soundbar actually performs. Now, with that in mind, I would like to talk about its audio configuration. And here you have got 7 audio drivers that output 200 watts of total power output. To be more specific, you've got 6 30-watt drivers and a singular 20-watt driver with a 5.0 channel configuration. Now, you do actually have the option of upgrading this by the addition of a subwoofer or mains-powered rear speakers. Indeed, this will cost you an additional extra, but it's just some food for thought if you do want to upgrade at a later date. Now, apart from that, you do also have support for Samsung's Q Symphony feature, which effectively utilizes the speakers that are found within the television and pairs them up with the soundbar to give you a little bit more of a cinematic experience. At least that is the marketing claims, because I've got no means of testing that, because it's only supported on certain more modern Samsung televisions. Now, no matter what television you own, at least as far as I'm aware, you have also got SpaceFit sound, which effectively utilizes the built-in microphone to give you room calibration. However, in my case, I did not find it beneficial. Equally, given I do test in a quiet environment, I did not benefit from the active voice amplifier feature, which gives you a bit better audio reproduction if you have a noisy environment, for example if you've got some low-end hum coming from a fan or a vacuum cleaner. So past all of that, how does it actually perform sonically? Well, first off, in terms of the sub-bass tones, they're actually quite cut short, and that's due to the omission of a subwoofer, which is almost no surprise. Indeed, over here it cannot compete with some of the other soundbars which come in at its price point that do offer that dedicated audio driver. Therefore means that the low-end rumbles are going to be cut short, and if you're watching movies or indeed listening to some more challenging bass-orientated tracks, you might be left a little bit disheartened. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not too bad, specifically given that its overall mid-bass impact is actually really impressive, both in terms of the quantity and indeed the quality. You have got a great sort of bass precision, and therefore when I was listening back to my favourite R&B, D&B or EDM tracks, I was actually left quite excited while listening back to the soundbar. Now, in terms of the mid-range, it's actually quite good. It's come up to the foreground like you'd find in its predecessor. Therefore means that when it comes to listening back to vocals, be it female or male vocals in music tracks, or indeed if you're listening to piece to cameras or podcasts or news, you actually will find that the overall vocals do come up to the foreground. Yes, they're a little bit recessed in comparison to more expensive soundbars out there, but in comparison to some of its key competitors, it actually does a very good job, going toe-to-toe with the likes of Sonos, for example. Now, as for the highs, they extend relatively well at the top end, specifically if you adjust the treble EQ quite substantially. However, if I'm going to be overly critical, I don't think it quite competes with some of its key competitors that give you a little bit of that zingy nature without sounding harsh or sibilant. Now, in terms of the overall soundstage reproduction, here I was left a little bit disheartened. Now, granted, Samsung do offer a decent audio experience, at least for a soundbar that is quite compact and therefore does go toe-to-toe with the likes of the Sonos Ray or indeed even the Sonos Beam Gen 2, but in comparison to larger soundbars out there from the likes of Denon, JBL or indeed Majority, I don't think it quite competes. Now here you do have sideward firing drivers on the Samsung soundbar and forward facing drivers which do give you a decent audio experience, specifically if you're going to be watching a movie. However, with the lack of upward firing drivers, specifically when it comes to Dolby Atmos data, it is going to be no competition for those that actually do offer it. Furthermore, you do not have that wider soundstage, nor do you have that extra bit of width and depth, and indeed that extra bit of instrument separation. Now, for me to demonstrate it and also give you a little bit of a different audio demo, I'll be playing back Transformers Age of Extinctions. Bear in mind what I did mention before, it's going to be playing over Dolby Digital due to the limitations of my Samsung television. A bit more of a background as to what I was trying to explain. In other words, the soundbar does well across the sound frequency range, albeit not perfectly, and it also has a decent soundstage reproduction. In other words, you're getting those sideward firing drivers that give you a little bit more of that extra engagement, and furthermore with that center audio driver, it means that the action is not drowning out the overall vocals, which is sometimes a case with certain soundbars out there. Now, ultimately, what I'm trying to mention over here is that the Samsung S61B and the HW60B are actually decent soundbars. Yes, you're not going to get the utmost audio fidelity, and indeed you're not actually going to compete with some of the more expensive soundbars out there on the market, but given their compact form factor and also the overall price point, I can see myself recommending them, and as such they get my value award. However, do consider there are quite a few different alternatives out there that you might want to look at, from the likes of JBL, Denon, Sonos, Bose, or even the likes of Majority, some of which I've reviewed and will be down in the description below for your own consideration. Now I'd be curious to know what you make of this Samsung soundbar or indeed some of its competitors down in the comment section below. And of course, if you've liked this independent detailed review and want to see more from myself on the channel, definitely do consider dropping a like, subscribing and hitting that bell notification, all of which would be greatly appreciated. As such, I've been Totally Dubbed and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and goodbye.